Welcome, Chiefs Kingdom. Thanks for tuning in to this Red Kingdom Media production, bringing you raw, authentic Chiefs coverage. Make sure to like and subscribe to stay up to date on your team. Now sit back and enjoy the show.
Cheese.
Or should I say
Or cruise, because that's all I could do.
CDs where all the
Yeah.
light is stuck on me and flying back at me.
My face is frozen.
Yep, that's Man. Okay, well, everybody who's still listening for the first 30 seconds knows who we are and what we are. Thank you for listening to Home of the Chiefs podcast, where the Chiefs are our home. It's Clinton and Shannon back at it again for another could be last time episode of continuing Chiefs games. Of course, we're never going to root for it or hope for it, but it's expected and something that has to be considered while we go. So each one of these is always maybe not.
Is it the last
See if it happens again. Hopefully it does. But thank you everybody for tuning in this week. We got big show ahead of us. So we'll get right to it. We got 2 games to go over and some topics around it to discuss. So first up, iced up the Fins. The Kansas City Chiefs defeated the Miami Dolphins 26-7 in a cold night that we attended live. It was recorded as the 4th coldest playoff game in NFL history, and it was also a Chiefs win. So we're going to discuss how that game was, how the cold felt, how we survived it, and then the Chiefs winning that game overall. Then we're going to probably transition that easily to destructive defense. The defense made Miami miserable in the cold, and other than a freak Tyreek play, they were basically scoreless the entire game. So now, with the defense facing Josh Allen, we contemplate whether the defense is going to be able to maintain that and whether or not the illustrious 30 points get scored on the Chiefs, which is evidently the only team to not have that many points scored on them in any game. Then we're going to have mobile Mahomes. So this is the first instance, other than the actual Super Bowls themselves, where Mahomes and company are going to play on the road in Buffalo against the Bills Mafia. So Mahomes has been on record stating he likes being a villain.
Mm-hmm.
So how is he going to respond, and the other offensive weapons on the team going to respond playing in Buffalo for the first time with actual fans there, as in 2020 they did not have any, as most New York games were empty.
Mm-hmm.
And then all that leading into the broader discussion of, with the Chiefs scoring in 6 trips to the red zone and only 2 of those being touchdowns, we're going to decide if the offense can do that or possibly, hopefully better, because perhaps Buffalo's offense is definitely more fired up and ready to compete than normal. So all that wrapped around. And then one last thing before we go into it, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. Rate us 5 stars on Spotify. Follow us, subscribe to us on YouTube. Wherever you like to listen and watch on social media, that's where we're at. So stay tuned for future content, both Chiefs related and outside of the Chiefs sphere. But of course, we don't want to be thinking that way right now. So iced up those Fins. So clearly it was very cold, as we can attest. We won't go into it for like the whole time about how cold it was and battling and how tough we are, or whatever the case.
It was cold,
We
yeah.
won't go that far.
So
it goes as stated as one of the coldest games it didn't reach like minus 40 or 50, like something closer to the northern borders of the
Mm-hmm.
United States would be. But the fact that it got to minus 30 is still really uncomfortable.
Yeah, I think that's probably the coldest I've ever like experienced. Like I don't think I've ever been out in anywhere that cold before. So that was like something, but honestly didn't really survive it. Just kind of just tried to push through.
Yeah, it was never a I'm fully over this. Like 20 minutes after you were out in it, the feeling was there, and it was never like going to subside.
Mhm.
It was only going to eventually numb,
Yeah.
and you
Yep.
were concerned how like how much numb effect a certain body part had, and whether or not it could be
Too much.
warmed back up again.
Yeah.
I know by the time we got home, we were wiggling our toes and walking around trying to get feeling back in our feet.
Yeah.
And, like we had done preparation for it. We packed a bunch of stuff.
I had
wore
3 layers of socks on
everything
and
we
my
could.
toes still got frozen.
Yeah.
And toe warmers.
and stood on cardboard to avoid the concrete, and it still was wet. And
That didn't
cold,
yeah, it
so
did nothing.
thankfully it wasn't like slippery so much, but it was still bitter cold.
They did a good job of the stadium and clearing it out. Shout out to whoever did that because they had salt everywhere. It was not slick at all. There was no ice, no snow. It was clear. Like it was perfect. And the parking lot was the same way.
Yep, because most of the streets around it weren't even necessarily 100% clean.
Our street still isn't clean.
Good
So,
about where no one cares about it.
oh yeah, but
Yeah, they paid a lot of attention to it, so they were ready for that event. The talk like before that evening was Buffalo moved their game from Sunday to Monday to look out for a bunch of snow, and we saw the aftermath of all the snow that got dumped there.
that was funny.
But it was like, okay, Buffalo's moving their game, so oh man, Chiefs should move theirs because it's cold and blah blah. And a lot of people were online or on TV saying that at the time.
I knew they wouldn't.
But it wasn't the fact that the team or the crew that works for the team wasn't going to be ready for this stuff.
They were prepared.
And they allowed some extra like alterations. Like normally you have to bring a sign for cardboard.
Yeah, they let you
So-
bring cardboard. Like it helped anyway, but
Yeah.
Mahomes' helmet breaking was funny. Not really funny, but it's kind of scary.
Well, I mean, I guess I can tell you in that regard that it's cold if it was shipping plastic away.
Yeah, like plastic became so brittle. Like that helmet is supposed to be, it's built for like impact stuff, and it just whoop, it shattered.
Yeah, that was crazy to see happen. Yeah, like it looked like shattered glass.
Yeah,
And we joked because you've seen the videos of the water bottles. I mean, we had one at our seat. I mean, it didn't happen right away, but like by the time it fully set in, I was squeezing it.
yeah, it was completely ice.
It
Like
looked so cool. It was like shattered glass. So that's like pretty much all we had for the cold part. Not much else to go into. Once you're there and you're cold, you're in a mindset of like just get through it, and it's never gonna get better.
yeah,
So just
tough it out.
and get back to the car and blast the heat. So the other half of this is the actual game itself, obviously. So the Chiefs beat Miami. What looked like the defense was gonna play lights out. They played that pretty much the entire game. The one fluke score they had by itself. But just an overall good game for the opponent that they were facing.
Yeah,
They were playing a team that wasn't in the mood to play in the cold despite like all the hype that they had. They weren't
they weren't ready. You could tell.
You could tell right away
Mhm.
that they weren't ready to tackle. So we saw the offense get the ball pretty much immediately and score.
Mhm.
So that put the pressure on Miami, and they had a lead for a little bit, put up field goal, and then Reek Tyreek play.
Yeah.
And then within 3 points, you're like, okay, it's either going to go one of two ways. Either they're not going to allow anything else, the rest of this whole game because they got that like one mistake out of them, or this is going to snowball.
Mhm.
And thankfully we saw the rest of the game play out that they weren't allowing anything else the rest of the game.
Yeah.
So, what were your like most memorable moments?
Well, definitely watching that Tyreek was a memorable moment because that was like, oh, okay, so they can actually score something.
Yeah, that was such a crazy play.
Yeah, it was. But that, and then we had the, I forget who it was, but Butker, I know Butker was like one of the stars of the show, as always. Like he's always the star of the show. But there was one other play that I'm thinking of. Maybe it'll come to me.
All right, because they scored the opening touchdown. She got open easily.
I think it was that one because it was Rashid that I'm thinking of. I think because it was the good where he got open and he went in there. Yeah, that's what it was.
He had a big game. He had 130 yards, almost the most for an entire receiver in the postseason itself. So Rashid's looking damn good, and him being a rookie ain't even half of it anymore.
Yeah.
The other touchdown came pretty much at the end of the game. Once we had basically considered whole game won.
Yeah.
Or enough that the point differential was not.
It wasn't gonna. Yeah.
But the direct handoff, the fake spin, and the score by Pacheco at the end to basically seal it by going up more than 2 scores. That that was huge. That signaled that we're not gonna keep shooting ourselves in the foot. It did eventually happen. We saw them fumble at the very end of the game.
Yeah.
Less than 2 minutes, but it really didn't matter. So
yeah, we were like, at least that happened at the end of the game. So, except like it didn't happen in the beginning. So I'm glad it didn't happen in the beginning.
Right. and then we'll get to harp back to that conversation with the last segment of this episode. But it was good that the offense knew for a little bit. They put pressure on, and then they kind of figured out that the defense was not going to let up in any way. And they were willing to kind of coast and do what they needed to do to hold on to their lead, maintain their lead, grow their lead, whatever process it needed.
Yeah, they did good at maintaining and actually like gaining a lead this time. Because we've seen it before, it's kind of like stagnant.
Yeah, and there's the stat going around that the Chiefs in the second half of games are either like allowing 0 or 6 or 1 touchdown or something like that. If you go back a little further, they're giving up like 13 or 14 points. So, maybe they fall into that category again. We'll have to see this weekend.
I'm interested to see.
But the talk of the game is definitely the defense, and that leads to the defense as a whole. So we already poked at it. Tyreek got the one and only play. And besides that, they shut him down and weren't going to let anything else happen the rest of the game.
Yeah, the defense was ready.
So they knew what to do against this Miami offense and Tua. We saw them struggle a little bit when Buffalo was here in mid-December. And Josh Allen's really good at being a big guy and running over people. Mahomes, we saw take off a couple times and get big gains and not want to go down. So that same thing, try to tackle a big quarterback in now snowy conditions.
Yeah,
See how cold and stuff it is, but definitely more precipitation than what occurred here with it being wind and wind chill.
Yeah, it'll be snowy.
The wind definitely played a factor here. Saw a lot of passes kind of just die down, and the broadcast and players after were kind of talking that certain direction. The wind was just kind of taking things and going, and like all the Butker's field goals were on the harder side, and all the Chiefs scores were on the like non-winded side.
Yeah.
So, but playing Josh Allen and in Buffalo now is going to be a different story. If the game was in Arrowhead, we could be a little more optimistic because we're going to like scream our head off and let the defense get enough cracks at it.
Yeah.
But when we're watching it from home now, it's going to be a different feeling because the defense is under this new, different pressure.
Yeah.
So they're going into an environment where they want to win. So we'll talk about the offense in a little bit, but I've talked with Dale and Lonnie on the post game and probably just with them sporadically during the week that like it's going to take a miracle even from the defensive side because you just know that Josh Allen's going to get his every couple times.
Yeah.
Like that's going to be the tricky thing is we want to go into that game hoping for another 0 points or 7 points or something like that. And I think if that's our expectations, we're going to be very disappointed.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's going to like come back to the offense to put up certain points and stuff.
Yeah, it's going to be a point. You have to score points, and then they score points, and then you score points. And it's going to come down to who scores the last points, probably.
But the whole talk about this postseason is that if anything's going to happen, it's because the defense wins it and does it for them. So as good as a job as they can do, I think at some point there's going to be some people still frustrated if they can't hold to 0 or
probably
7 or 14 or even 20 for that matter.
Yeah.
So then that's going to put all the pressure back on the offense. And I don't think we're in a point where we still feel comfortable enough to do that.
Like they can handle it.
So we keep speculating like how well can this defense play? How well can they do? There's all this stuff. They've got good history right now. They're making big plays. They're getting key stops in moments. So, I don't know. I can't speculate like how hard that's going to be, but I know it's not. I know it's not going to be fun. Like,
it's going to be painful probably.
As a fan, like I'm concerned because that's like the one team that's like kind of set up to beat them already this season. And yet Nick Bolton was just coming back from injury. They didn't have Isaiah Pacheco in that game, so the score was what it was. And they didn't have Drew Tranquil. But they still attacked the same defense in the same way. Running backs and tight ends. So our corners are great, and they can lock up the wide receivers. They worked against Miami, and it worked because we stopped their running game as well. So Buffalo's going to try their running game just as well, and they're going to try to throw it to their running back just as much as well. Can they stop that? That's kind of been the tricky part all season is the run seems like the thing that does work against the Chiefs defense. And it's up to the other team to commit to it and have it work. over and over.
All the time.
It wasn't working so much this last week. So now we'll test if it works against a much more
challenging team.
Yes, in an environment that doesn't help the Chiefs anymore.
Yeah. Hostile environment.
That's as good as a segue as we're ever going to get to the third topic, where Mahomes is on the road. Not again, but for the first time. This is his road debut. So he can play the villain, and he can be the bad guy to Bills Mafia forever. But I'm not saying I'm concerned about having to go on the road, but I think the fact that this is something that we haven't had to experience yet before is what makes me
nervous.
More nervous about it the most.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah,
if I was basing the offense on past years and their ability to score certain amount of points, I wouldn't be as concerned.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact that Buffalo's catching this team at a time when, we just played our best game offensively last week, and they scored 14 points, and Butker scores the other 12.
Yeah, exactly.
And the day before that, Butker gets 15 of his own points. I'm concerned that maybe that's not going to be enough.
Yeah,
and
I can see that.
And it's not because I think the defense is gonna just crap out and allow 40 or something, but we're not gonna hold them scoreless. And this is something that they haven't yet experienced before. They've never faced fans in Buffalo before, so that's a whole nother different thing.
We know how hardcore they are.
Yes, from them traveling here. Shout out to them.
Yep.
So the fact that all the pressure goes back on the offense again,
that's scary.
In this year it is. But if it was just who do you trust more, you would say, oh, definitely Mahomes, definitely Andy Reid.
Yeah.
If we only took the last couple weeks, we're like, okay, cool, that's the sample size, we'll take that. But the fact that we've saw the entire season as a whole stack up this way, it's that's the tricky part, because you could either see both teams kind of throwing it around the yard the whole time, or you might see them just run the ball nonstop until both defenses stop them. And I don't know which game I prefer. I think at this point in time, a run the ball, kill the clock defensive game helps the Chiefs tremendously.
Yeah. Yep.
But I think the quarterbacks on either team are pretty much going to prevent that from occurring, no matter what. That it's going to become shot for shot. And Rashid's great. Do we think that he himself can do a one-play score by himself or something like that? That'd be the tricky part.
That's asking a lot of a rookie.
And he's about the only one that you think like that. Kelsey had 3 drops. He had 7 catches, and he could have had 10. He could have had 100 yards.
Right.
So it'd be asking a lot to start a shootout. And unfortunately, I just don't think this team is set up for shootout anymore. Without having those offensive weapons, that's not the type of game you need to play. And I think that Buffalo can ultimately force that type of game regardless of how the Chiefs want to play it. Maybe if we see exactly what happened this last Saturday, where the Chiefs hit the ball first, they score, and it puts all the that first defensive possession, either with or without a lead, is going to be like kind of big.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to set the tone. How many possessions are we going to make the defense play? And how many of those can they afford to actually give up points on?
Yeah.
So it's going to be a test for sure. I'm definitely excited to see it.
Mm-hmm.
I've just not made myself like very like motivated or excited for it yet.
Excited, yeah.
I think I have to kind of wait for the day to come and have a little more optimism and belief again. But if you're just basing it on numbers and what players are there and how they've performed, like the matchup itself is what has been giving me concern this whole time.
Yeah, I can see that.
So before we get to our last topic for this evening, make sure to like and subscribe and follow us on all our social media platforms at Red Kingdom Media. You can go ahead and subscribe to us on YouTube. You can follow us on Spotify. Interact with us on any of the comment sections on any of these videos or Spotify reviews, and we can get back to you and let you know that we got it. But last topic is, so the Chiefs scored 6 times, 2 touchdowns and 4 field goals. And the question is going to be, even if they do that, would that be enough to win this game? And 2, is this team set up for more mistakes and penalties and costly things that they were plagued with earlier in the season that they were fortunate enough didn't happen to them this last Saturday?
Yeah, I think they are going to have to battle some of those issues that they've seen, because we've seen it and it's been all season, so they haven't really fixed it. Maybe they have by now, and you would hope they have by now, but I am expecting to see at least one mistake. And honestly, like, it might come down to that. It might come down to the one mistake, and that's what we don't want it to do that, but that's kind of what we've been seeing.
I mean, the hope is that Josh Allen will give us one back. It happened here.
True.
But, him at home, a different environment, different meaning.
Mm-hmm.
So
he's fighting as much as we are for this, so he's going to be on his best, and we would hope that we're all on our best.
I can't speak for Josh Allen, but we can attest that, like, when Holmes has playoff games here at home, the start of those games can be dicey sometimes.
Yeah.
He can be like very erratic, very quick, fast throw, like something about like he just needs to get
like
the
jitters
nerves out of him
to
start. I don't know if Josh Allen is that way or whatnot, but I've had that same thought, like, is one mistake going to be like enough to kill the team? And I think the margin between these two teams is so thin.
Yeah, like that
it ultimately could. One mistake only, like one mistake more on the Chiefs than Buffalo could definitely hurt the chances. We've seen them lose games where they turn over 3 times or 5 times.
Yeah, it's like, oh man, you've made so many dumb mistakes you shouldn't. That's rookie mistakes.
So if I'm a team, I'm thinking, no, don't make any mistakes. But like from the fan perspective, it's kind of just waiting for it to eventually happen again because they're just too used to it happening to them already.
Yeah.
That sometimes they just can't help themselves but get in their own way. We pray that that's not the case anymore, and that they stay disciplined. They run the ball. They throw it to the open receiver. They keep the main receivers they have faith in on the field the most.
Mm-hmm.
And just fight through the adversity that they kind of placed upon themselves this entire season. Their entire goal and everything has been Super Bowl, and now it's at the point where we're concerned that this might be it in terms of future games for the rest of this season up till the Super Bowl. But I think the offense has a chance.
They do.
They have a chance. And it's, again, the good problem to have is that the offense is the one that we're concerned with.
Mm-hmm.
I think if the defense does anything other than give up 35 points, I think you still have to be happy with that.
Yeah.
If they hold Buffalo under 20 points and the Chiefs don't win this game, it would have been the most tragic circumstances. The defense got screwed. They played their butt off. They gave them a chance. And they still couldn't help.
Come down with it.
You couldn't keep tripping over your own feet.
Yep.
To get through it. I want to believe that things can work out and they can get their first road win in the playoffs, because it's literally the first time they've ever had to play on the road. It's not because they've gotten lucky. They've played their schedules and either had the super first seed and it was the only bye, or it was a shared 1 and 2 bye week, or whatever the case. They ended up getting a break and went on to win. Last year they got their break, they won. Year before that, they got upset in the championship game in Cincinnati. So, how important is a break?
Yeah.
They got their little week 18 break. But they didn't get an official, actual sit at home and watch playoff games week like Baltimore has.
True.
How many people are picking Baltimore? I don't see a lot of picks for them right now. They're the number 1 seed in the AFC, and they're getting picked to be upset just because no one's seen them play a game, and the team they're going against scored over 40 points in their game. So, this is a strange league where things can change week to week, and some things can stay drastically the same. So there's been good things the Chiefs want to keep exactly the same, and other things that they've made mistakes on where they would love to change it. The Miami game, they could have scored nearly 40 points themselves.
They could have,
if you could have converted 1 or 2 of those touchdowns or field goals to touchdowns. So the team is capable. We just have to continue to see mistake-free football from Mahomes and company. And I believe that we could be back for that championship game, and it might happen here. It might be Baltimore. Who knows? But there's a shot. I'm not projecting it or getting that far or thinking that too far ahead. Focus on this one opponent. I know the team is focusing on it. I just hope that it's enough that they can do something they haven't done before against a quarterback who regular season's gotten to gloat on him, but in the postseason, everyone keeps saying, Josh Allen, wait till the postseason, and then we saw how that worked out for him.
True.
So maybe it happens again this year. Maybe he gets his revenge. Tough to see.
Yeah, it's like you said, it's literally so close that it's gonna be hard to even it's gonna come down to the last play, probably.
Yeah.
Most likely.
And if it was any other year, I think we'd feel super confident. And now at this point, we're we'd be on edge regardless.
I want it.
Which side has to do the work for it.
Yeah.
So this will be a good matchup. not in terms of watching it because you want your team to win 50-0, but in terms of another game that the NFL will think is really good and went down to the wire and all that stuff, repeat of 2021, for instance.
Yeah.
That could be big thing come out of this game is how much of a good game it was and whatever the storyline that comes out of it. And whoever got the gloat or sulk about it.
Yeah.
I don't got anything else for this week. Focusing on Buffalo and don't want to think about or worry about anything else, knowing that each game is potentially the last. But if it is, just like I said last week, hell of a ride. Thanks everybody who's been a part of it and will continue to stay on it in the off season and further. If you want something else to watch this week, you can go back and check out my breakdown video of the Miami. I can even game for that. You can come up with a name for it. The Miami game wild card matchup. You can go back and watch that, as it was also forecasting this game against the Buffalo Bills. And stay later towards this weekend where there's going to be an episode of the Chiefin podcast, and of course Extra Dale. Some Extra Dale for you 2 days in a row.
Yeah.
An extra point with Daily Dale coming at you right before that Sunday tip off. So big things coming rest of this week. Here's hoping that we keep going on, but regardless, we're going to be there at the end of the Buffalo game for the post-game show and breaking that game down and talking whatever storylines come out of that game. So I ain't got anything else. Got anything else you want to let the beautiful people know?
Nope. Buffalo's going down.
I love your optimism. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Hope you have a good weekend. Good victory Sunday, Monday. We're hoping. God bless and go Chiefs.
Thanks for checking out this update straight from the heart of Chiefs Kingdom. We appreciate your passion, so please leave a like and follow us wherever you tune in from. See you next tailgate, your trusted source for all things Chiefs, Red Kingdom